5 Things to Know, a Tax Talk Today exclusive. I'm joined today by Courtney Kay-Decker. Courtney has had a distinguished career, including joining the law firm of Lane and Waterman LLP in 1998, and then rejoining the firm in 2019 after an 8-year hiatus while leading the Iowa Department of Revenue. Most recently, Courtney became a VITA site coordinator starting in January of 2020. Courtney, on behalf of our viewers, it's my pleasure to welcome you to Tax Talk Today, where Irish representatives and tax industry leaders come together to share their knowledge and experiences working with the federal tax law. As a career tax practitioner and industry advocate, I know as well as anyone the importance of our community providing feedback to the IRS. I would like to ask a bit more about the important role of the Electronic Tax Administrative Advisory Committee, or ETAAC, in providing the IRS with crucial and critical and timely information. Courtney, first, can you tell us about your role and experience working with ETAAC, as well as the NPL and Security Summit?
Thanks, Alan. Delighted to be here to talk about ETAAC. So over my career, I've had a couple of opportunities to serve on ETAAC. I started when I was wearing my hat as state tax administrator and was able to serve a couple of years on the committee then. And this past year, I've served as the chair of the committee, just finishing our annual report just not that long ago. We've had a wonderful opportunity, those of us who have served on ETAAC, to get to know and work with a lot of wonderful IRS staff who dedicate their time to help us understand how this tax system works, a little behind the scenes tour. And folks at NPL, Security Summit, across the board are involved in helping us understand our issues and recommendations that we ultimately make.
Great. Can you tell us how ETAAC has evolved over the years and the importance of the tax professionals, as well as the software vendors, I'm sure, are involved in this as well, involvement in the advisory committee work?
Sure. ETAAC, it stands for the Electronic Tax Administration Advisory Committee. So as you might guess, we're pretty interested in electronic tax administration. So what we do is bring together folks who have expertise in that tax ecosystem to help make recommendations to the IRS on how we can make the system better for taxpayers. The natural members of that committee are the software providers, who of course develop software to file your tax returns. The payroll and information return industry also plays a role there. And then the states, which, as most of us know, federal and state returns tend to be filed together and use many of the same systems. The piece that in recent years has become a really valuable tool is including tax practitioners on this committee. So not only are we thinking about the technical pieces of the behind the scenes work of tax administration, we're getting perspectives from folks who are on the ground and using the systems directly, again, with the goal of better serving the nation's taxpayers.
Great. I recently saw, and I believe it was a Guidewire that came out that released your report that you mentioned, this year report. First of all, so I've got a two-part question here, but first, what is this public report?
So that's ETAAC's charge once a year is to issue an annual report to Congress. And our committee members are quite proud of the fact that we do get to report directly to Congress, and that's required by the 1998 Revenue Restructuring Act. Put us into law, and the law was modified recently to bring in Security Summit activities as a topic that we report on. So everything electronic in tax administration is within the scope of what we're working on through that process. We work throughout the year and meeting with various folks in the IRS, subject matter experts on, whatever topic seems to have an issue that we might be able to help resolve. They provide us data and just that really deep understanding of how the systems work. We provide feedback throughout the year of things like, have you thought about this, or do you think this would work? Some of those things never make it to the level of the report, but we hope that they help the IRS in thinking through issues. So the culmination of each year's work is this report that we issue to Congress.
Great, great. Now, can you give us the top 3 or 4 highlights of this year's report?
The top 3 or 4 highlights. Well, it's shorter than it's ever been before. And perhaps you can't tell that by how excited and long-winded I am about it, but we focused on the big picture, taking a step back and understanding what it takes for the IRS to be successful. And we included 2 recommendations to Congress. The first one was, let's make sure that that the IRS is funded in a way that allows them to successfully achieve the service that taxpayers deserve. And we had a number of specific recommendations in that area that you can look at our report and read for yourself. Our second recommendation to Congress was to design legislation and initiatives in a way that leverages the things that the IRS does that result in time over time successful initiatives. Collaboration with stakeholders, making sure that whatever development is chosen uses iterative and flexible technology, making sure that the IRS prioritizes projects in a way that helps the largest number of taxpayers first. And we all know that that happens by seeing that there is a successful tax season for the vast majority of taxpayers in this country. As the commissioner has said in the past, and in fact, many times, one taxpayer having a bad experience is not a good thing. So we want to make sure that those taxpayers are also helped. But we have to prioritize the resources given by Congress. We also want to make sure that the projects balance machines and people. When you are designing systems, those repetitive tasks that don't require human brain power, those should be done by machines, reserving the human service for people who really need that service. And those characteristics of successful initiatives are something that Congress should keep in mind as they are budgeting and coming up with new programs and what have you for the IRS to engage in. Our other 3 recommendations were directly to the IRS itself and involved, more in the weeds things like improvements to the modernized e-file system, IP pins, and so forth.
Great, great. Many of our viewers are listening to these shows and then they get excited. They would like to get involved. How can our viewers get involved with ETAAC without necessarily getting on the committee? Let's start with that.
So folks in the practitioner community can get involved in a number of ways. Contacting their IRS liaison is an easy way to do that. Certainly ETAAC receives comments from the public, and our NPL folks are the ones who get that information to us. We have public meetings throughout the year. As we meet as a group, we also have a public portion of that meeting, and folks are welcome to join and provide their input and comments at that time. And just finding ways to become engaged with NPL really in general is a great opportunity. And I think it's been one of the highlights of my career has been to be able to understand how the IRS works and work toward a better tax administration system for taxpayers.
I don't want to get off this topic yet. One more question along the lines of getting involved with ETAAC. For those that would like to be on the committee, I believe that ETAAC, like all other committees, have a open season, for lack of a better term, when they can, when applications are being accepted. When is ETAAC's applications being accepted?
ETAAC's open season generally opens around December and lasts into January, sometimes a little longer. There'll be a publication that comes out in IRS newsletters. The practitioner newsletter in particular will highlight those committees. ETAAC is one of them, and ERSAC is another one, which is our sister committee that we work with a lot. So those committees are always looking for members. They're relatively small committees, but those who are interested in tax administration certainly are welcome to apply. And we always like to see good candidates coming through for the IRS to choose from.
And for those that want to apply, I just have to make sure they understand this. How long is this commitment?
It's a 3-year commitment. And you know, I think it's hard work, but again, for folks who are interested in seeing how the sausage is made, it's an amazing experience. You get to work with not only great IRS people, but you get to work with experts across the tax administration ecosystem through the private sector and state government, state revenue agencies. So it's really an amazing group of people to work with.
Now, this has really been a great conversation so far, Courtney, but I do want to just give you one last opportunity. Any final words of advice, encouragement, or something else you would like to throw out to the practitioner community in regard to ETAAC?
So with regard to ETAAC, you know, I think read our report, number one. I think it has some really good information. We tried to keep it pretty succinct and not a whole lot of fluff in there that hopefully you can read through it and understand, these are some of the issues that the IRS is facing, and have that sort of view into how we as practitioners and taxpayers can help the IRS be better. Because in my experience in working with the IRS, it's clear that they want to serve taxpayers and don't enjoy having things go wrong. So they're constantly working to make things better. ETAAC gets to play a great role in that. And I think any interaction that we all have as practitioners in support of that tax administration mission is rewarding and well worth your time.
Great. Well, this has been really fantastic conversation, Courtney. I do appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us on 5 Things to Know. On behalf of our viewers, I want to thank you for your service in tax, especially your current role as chair of ETAAC. Your work really benefits the IRS, the tax practitioner community, as well as our nation's taxpayers. Thanks again, and we look forward to having you back on another episode of Tax Talk Today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for watching. And as always, it's been great learning with you. Be sure to join us again on an upcoming Tax Talk Today program.